Welcome back to another edition of the Forts Athletics Life and Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Charles, and for now, we're at Forts Athletics. We equip coaches and athletes with the tools they seek out in order to achieve their unique and specific goals. We are recording on Tuesday, October 18th, afternoon. It's a beautiful day out. Today I want to share a story, something that I said in school, kind of like off the cuff, when it came to coaching and working with athletes at the college level. Somebody made a comment about kind of like herding the athletes in and how to manage a large group of college kids. And I was like, if you kind of treat them like preschool students, you tend to get better outcomes. And teachers that I was talking to just, kind of looked at me and asked what I meant by that. So, tongue-in-cheek, of course, and my college kids know this, so this isn't going to be a shock or a surprise to them, right? So there's a lot of parallels that I find between coaching college athletes and teaching and working with early childhood education teachers and students, right? So preschool age kids. So focus of my research and expertise comes in early childhood education and accountability and outcomes, right, at pre-K. So it sounds silly, but yep, we do keep track of preschool students, academic achievement, social emotional learning and development and all that functioning, right? So when working with preschool age students, what we found in the literature, and these are 2 articles that I wrote specifically as a team, we wrote as a team, has to do with high-functioning, high-performing classrooms at the pre-K level tend to produce students that are more equipped and ready to make the transition to the rigors of kindergarten, right? So in preschool, we have to be able to communicate effectively at our students' level, so 4 and 5-year-old. We have to have effective routines and rituals, right? Expectations. So our kids, our children know what's expected of them in preschool. And we also hold their hands every once in a while and let them know that everything is going to be okay if we're having peer issues or just the life of the 4 and 5-year-old gets a little bit difficult to manage in class. We hold their hands, we tell them that everything is going to be okay. Tongue-in-cheek is what I say to you now, because I'm not going to get into all the research jargon about that. But basically, if you communicate well with your kids and you have good routines and rituals, effective routines and rituals, and your kids know that they are cared for, they're going to perform a little better academically, and they're going to be more equipped to handle the social emotional rigors of being in school as a 4 and 5-year-old child. Fast forward to college, our college friends, right? We need to have effective communication with them, right? We need to be able to speak at their level. They need to know what is expected of them, why it is expected of them, how they are to manage those expectations, and know that there's somebody there to hold their hand if they need assistance with anything, right? That's our job as coaches. Communicate well with our athletes, right? Ensure that we have effective routines and rituals in place so they know what's expected of them, when it's expected of them. And 3, sometimes we have to hold their hands, right? I've done plenty of hand holding in my day. I am sure those of you that are watching right now probably hold plenty of hands as well, and let our athletes know that things are going to be okay. And I'm not just talking about okay with track, but I'm talking about with life, right? So as college coaches, we obviously wear a million hats, right? One of which is, for me, dad sometimes, right? And I know my athletes have shared things with me that they would probably never ever share with their parents, and it stays between us. And I tell them that unless there's like some other issue where they are in imminent danger or something along those lines. But if it's a relationship thing or coach, I don't know about what to do about this, can you some advice, that's fine. So we're there to really hold their hands, right? We help them along their collegiate journeys. Routines and expectations, I think, is paramount at the college level, right? If our athletes are left to their own devices and there really isn't, a schedule, if you will, for them, that's when things can kind of go a little haywire. Expectations aren't met and they can get in trouble, right? Especially if they don't know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, but more importantly, why, right? So, of course, it's important for them to go to class. Why? So they maintain, hopefully, good grades and that they are academically eligible and they can practice with us. That's a pretty important why to me. I think it would be to the majority of you that are going to be watching this at some point, right? Also, they're able to develop healthy habits or healthier habits if they already don't, right? So they know, get up, go to class, right? Have breakfast, have lunch, go see the trainers before practice if you need to. If not, go to practice and go to the weight room. Then you have dinner. Then you study and do your homework, and then you go to bed, hopefully at a decent hour, and basically rinse and repeat, right? So those are expectations. That's what's expected of them. That's a routine. That's how you develop routines and rituals. You do A, and then you go to B, and then C and D, and so on. And there's a rhyme and reason to that. And all of that has to be communicated effectively to our athletes. And at the pre-K level, my favorite, I can't tell you how many times I am up and down in catcher's position, right? Communicating with our little people because we're at eye level, right? You make eye contact, we're almost nose to nose because they need to be able to clearly understand what we are saying or what I am saying, especially because I'm so much taller than them. But then you're able to say it in a way that they are going to understand, right? So I work basically 9 hours a day with 3 and 4 year olds, 5-year-olds, right? And that's how you effectively communicate with them. And I share all of this in school, and it's kind of I don't know. I see the parallels with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that out loud. I've shared it with my college kids many times, even with their parents as well when they come to track meets. And I think having that understanding of, coaches send me messages about creating culture and, helping their athletes and trying to create, like a sense of family and things. When you boil everything down, that's basically what it comes down to. Are you able to communicate well with your athletes? Do you have established routines and rituals? Like, do they know what they need to do and how to do it? Do you teach them, right? Do you show them? Do you coach them? And everything isn't going to go well all the time. And that's where we pull them aside as coaches and, have those one-on-one conversations that helps build and nurture and strengthen those coach-athlete relationships, right? Our athletes are in our care, and it's our responsibility. And, sometimes we play coach, sometimes we play, counselor, we play parents, like we play all these different roles for our athletes, because I think that's what we sign up for, right? Again, I'm talking from my perspective, but I think over, almost 15 years of coaching college athletes, right? If I look at everything from like a 38,000 foot view, it's pretty evident that the programs at the colleges that dominate the T1 list, right? I am 99% sure that those coaches that work at those colleges are able to effectively communicate with their athletes, right? And establish expectations of what is required of their athletes, and that there are supports in place to help our athletes when things are not going well. And I'm not just talking about going well in practice, but what I'm talking about is not going well in life. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what anybody else might think of that, but that's what I share with individuals, with people that contact me and ask and are interested. I think sometimes coaches, I don't know if we think if there's like a secret. Like, I don't think there's a secret. I thought there was a secret for a long time, and it took me a while, and I made a lot of mistakes, and hopefully, like, sharing this information with everybody here allows you to not make the same mistakes that I did, because I expected, well, I didn't really expect much when I first started coaching, right? I assumed that everybody wanted the same thing. That's not necessarily the case. So being able to communicate that, right, with them, have a sense of understanding about expectations and what's required of them and what we are requiring of them, and letting them know that things are going to be okay, that, you know, college and track is not perfect all the time, and that there's going to be practices and weeks of practices and maybe 2 or 3 consecutive meets that just aren't going to go well. But if you have a plan in place and you have expectations and you're able to communicate those expectations with your athletes, things will work out maybe a little better than if you don't have those pillars in place, right, of communication, expectations, and you know, social emotional support for them, right? I consider them kids, like they're my kids, right? They're 18 to 23 years old. Sometimes, you know, they do still need their hands held and help when they ask for it. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Forts Athletics Life and Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Charles Inferno, and have a great day.